Hello everybody and welcome back to Europa Universalis, where at the request of Dark Horse, we're going to be playing the third Odyssey mod here. I don't really know too much about this mod. I literally just installed it. All I know from the description is apparently it's like a faltering Byzantium decides to go colonize the New World. So that should be interesting. Very much an alternate history sort of mod. So we'll just find out. Now, a quick caveat. According to the mod, it's compatible with 1.37.4. As you see here, we're on 1.37.5. This is just a small hotfix, so in theory, it shouldn't break anything. I hope. We'll find out. So we'll hop into the single player, of course, and they recommend that we play as Byzantium here. So Third Odyssey or Land of Wine and Honey? Ah, I see. So this would be starting as Markland up over here. One of these two, which are essentially colonial nations. Very, very early colonial nations. I think we'll try the alternative history here. So let's see what this says. Experience an alternate history where the Emperor of the Romans ponders the state of his declining realm and sees only one solution: to leave it all behind and start somewhere new. A radical solution caused by the slow realization that both the East and the West were hostile to the Empire and wish only for its slow destruction. The Romans know their task is just as difficult as what their ancient forefathers faced. Odysseus fared west, and so too did Aeneas. The Romans will flee even further west than that, beyond the Pillars of Hercules and beyond the shores of Europe. They will fare to a land where the sun rises on the eastern shore and sets inland. They will venture to a new world. Will their third Odyssey be successful? Will you lead the faltering Romans to prosperity? So this is like Scandinavian settlements up over here, I think. Yeah, that's definitely Scandinavian. So that's certainly interesting. I think we're going to play as Byzantium here, and we'll see what this is. So this is Basilia Romaeon. Okay. So we will see how this goes. Apparently it does not work with Iron Man mode, according to the mod description, so do not turn this on if you're going to play this mod. It apparently just straight up breaks. Is this is having us play, hang on. Here we go. This is who we want to play as. So yes, don't play as Iron Man, and let's see how this goes. I imagine Random New World is really weird in this as well. I don't think I would recommend that. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Byzantium, the last remnant of the Eastern Roman Empire and heir to over 2,000 years of Roman history and culture, is finally breathing its last breath. Surrounded on all sides by the Ottoman Turkish menace and all but abandoned by the Western powers, it would take a true miracle to save the last vestiges of Rome from destruction. Indeed. So, of course, we have all the DLC enabled, which apparently the mod does not require that, but we do have all the DLC enabled. And we are Eastern Orthodox, giving us minus 10% stability cost modifier and plus 10%, and plus 1, I should say, tolerance of the true faith. We can build up patriarch authority over time to strengthen the power of the church within our country. Okay, that seems good. And we are, of course, a monarchy and an empire. And Europe is home to the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah. Why is this giving us the HRE information? Okay, whatever. So we'll close that. Welcome to the third Odyssey. The Emperor of Rome looks upon his realm and despairs. To the east lie the lands of the hostile Turks, successors to the Arabs that battered Anatolia in times long past. This is fairly well written. To the west lie the Serbs and Hungarians, eager to carve up the pieces of a dying empire and expand their own dominion. The Varna Crusaders have been butchered. The legions of Rome once conquered the known world, but that was long ago. A lesser man might quail at these truths, but Iones and his brother Constantinos, are not lesser men. While delving into the depths of the Imperial Library for anything that might deliver them from destruction, the brothers located a hidden cache of information left behind by the exalted former emperor Alexios Komnenos. The cache contained detailed schematics of dromons retrofitted with the deep-sea capabilities of the ancient Roman vessels that plied the treacherous seas between the coasts of Hispania and the lands of the Celts in ages past, and was intended for a trading expedition to Varangian Vinland that never materialized. With them, the two brothers were able to scheme up a plan to hastily retrofit the remnants of the Imperial Navy to the designs, reinforced with modern construction techniques, and flee west in a new Odyssey, just as Aeneas fled Troy 3,000 years ago. The other three brothers will have to stay behind. Yeah, this is much better written than I normally experience in mods. I like it. This is very, very well written. Okay, so we will get Roman flight until the end of the game, giving the following effects. Cannot declare war. National unrest +6. Stability cost modifier +500%. Manpower increase -20,000. Sailor increase -2,500. Fort maintenance -100%. Mercenary cost +1,000%. Diplomatic relations -3. And with the preparations for the flight in full swing, Ionas VIII is no longer able to focus on his duties as a ruler. He is losing 5 of each category. It also releases Athens from being our vassal. Okay then, so we definitely do not want to maintain anything in Europe. We are just out of here. Got it. The Emperor has been approached by his close confidant, Georgios Sphrontzes, who argues that we should take with us that which made us respected in ages past, our learning. The most important books and scrolls, including the manuscripts detailing the construction process for truly ocean-worthy vessels, should be collected into a library and given a place on the fleet. In addition, a skilled German engineer named Johannes Brandt was able to recreate a small amount of Greek fire, based on scrolls stored in a hidden cache in the Imperial Library, and he is requesting that space on the fleet be allotted to storing the substance and the ingredients used to make it. Such endeavors would be expensive and cost precious space, but they might be worth it. We will see. Okay, so this guy joins our court as an advisor. Right, so we get 2 advisors here. Gotcha. But yeah, honestly, this is better written than a lot of the writing, like, in base games. I like it. So, at this point, now the question is, do we have to employ those? Maybe. So, who were those? That was not any of these guys. It was... I don't think it was any of these guys either. Okay, we've got Grant. This was one of them. For sure. And we could definitely put him in, but it would cost us money to recruit him. I'm not sure if we have to do this. We're probably going to need to tick forward here. We can sell titles, which we should do. We're going to lose all this land anyway. So we'll do that. That sounds good. And yes, we have low crownland, obviously. We can become Defender of the Faith, which we're not going to do. And we can seize land as well, which I want to check. Yeah, all of that should be good. Okay, so let's kick this forward a little bit. I'm going to bring this up to speed 4. And my understanding is this is going to be an event chain that leads us to our new nation. And we're just leaving this behind, and we're going to start afresh in the new world. Okay, the Silk of the Empire. The Emperor, Ionas' cousin, Theophilos Palaiologos, mathematician, grammarist, and second in line for the throne behind the Emperor's brother Constantinos, has requested that the vast silk reserve of the Roman Empire and the resources required to produce it be collected onto our westbound fleet. Silk, he says, has long been the garment of royalty and empire, and will make a fine luxury trade good as well. Such extravagance would cost us precious space, though, and we may need all the people and supplies we can get. At the very least, he requests that if we do not take the silk along, that we instead destroy it to prevent the Ottoman Sultanate from discovering its production methods. Okay. Add it to the list. So, this guy becomes our heir. Interesting. He's got decent stats, too, and a strong claim. Karaman has rivaled us. We don't care. Nothing about European politics is relevant to us at this moment, so that is wonderful. Okay, so the fate of the Marian Despotate. One final question remains in regard to our holdings. While we're resigned to Constantinople falling to the Turks, we can still decide the fate of our southern holdings. The Republic of Venice is attempting to build an empire in the eastern Mediterranean, and they would be grateful for a hold over the strong defensive positions of the southern highlands. A delegation from the Republic of Genoa, headed by a certain Archbishop Leonard of Chios, has expressed a desire to increase their economic penetration of the Aegean and Black Seas, something that could be easily accomplished by selling the territory to Genoa. Finally, we could grant direct independence to the Mauryan Despotate under the leadership of the Emperor's brother Theodoros. So, I'm just thinking here, generally speaking, Venice and Genoa aren't going to really step on our toes out in the New World all that much. Genoa maybe a little more so, Venice maybe a little less so. If this was like France or England, we'd have some problems. But if we give them independence, we'd gain a stability. Okay. That's interesting. Maria's going to become an independent state either way, but we get different effects here. Okay. So if we grant them independence, we get a stability, we get 75 ducats, and we release it. And then there's a changing of the guard that happens. There's some change-arounds of heirs. Understood. If we sell the province to the Venetians, we'll gain a ship and supplies in the form of a light ship and development upon landing. That's actually pretty good. If we sell it to the Genoese, we'll gain troops and arms, increasing our starting manpower, troop count, and army quality upon landing. So, I'm not anticipating that we run into significant armed resistance for a while. It's going to take a while for Europe to show up, right? Assuming that that's not accelerated by the mod in some way. So my argument here is if we grant them independence, they're just going to get conquered by the Ottomans. We'd like to hamstring the Ottomans as much as possible because they absolutely do often do a large amount of colonization. So Ottomans are a concern. Aragon, Castile, England, France, these are all concerns. Portugal's a concern. And we'd like to definitely prevent that from happening as much as possible. But we're not expecting them to show up for quite a while. Like Columbus's voyage isn't until 1492. We'll have like 50 years to get established. So I don't think we need additional troops, in theory. So we'll sell the province to the Venetians. Development upon landing is very useful, in my opinion. So we'll do that. Okay. Now we'll proceed forward. The Venetian captains. A pair of Venetian captains who sold their vessels for the journey have recently approached the emperor. Oh, this is still ticking. Hang on. Let's stop that. Have recently approached the emperor and his advisors, stating that to cross the Great Western Ocean, the Romans would need more than just a fleet of galleasses and small caravels. One of the merchant captains, Delfino Delphin, has offered to use his own connections as a member of one of the original founding families of the Republic, along with part of the dwindling Roman treasury, to acquire a portion of the famed Arsenal of Venice for Roman use. Using our nearly exhausted treasury on such a prize would drastically reduce our ability to purchase food and other supplies, but would give us a marked advantage in any battles to come. Okay, so if we go along with the proposal, a Venetian Catholic naval reformer would join our court. Okay. Lucca joined a trade league led by Genoa. I don't care. Okay, the final checklist. So we need to decide what we want to bring. We've gone through all the plans and looked over every option available to us. Now is the time to finalize our decisions and choose how much of our limited space we should devote to the non-essentials. So our supply status is currently plentiful, and the status of the fleet is ready and able. Okay. So I'm betting we can't do all of this. Can we only do one? So if we dedicate ships to holding Greek fire, a powerful siege and naval weapon that hasn't been seen in centuries, if left behind, the last defenders of the city will arm themselves with it. That might mean that the Ottomans get their hands on Greek fire. I think we should take this, for sure. I would like to take everything here, but I think trade efficiency is good. I don't think we need the Venetian captains and their cannons. Okay, so taking less supplies will, among other things, reduce our starting treasury by 75 ducats. That's understood. I'm kind of thinking we take these 3 and we don't do this. So let's dedicate ships to holding Greek fire. So our supply status is currently generous. Understood. Now we can load up the books and scrolls. That will reduce our idea cost by 10% till the end of the game. That's very good. That's very, very good. Our supply status is now sufficient. And if we bring the silk, that'll give us that trade efficiency. This adds additional escort ships coupled with experts, merchants, and artisans. Yeah. So additional escort ships, and it would bring this naval reformer. So I don't think we need the escort ships necessarily. We'll see if that's a problem. But the Greek fire probably covers that, in my opinion. So this, to me, is a lot less valuable. Because this guy is only going to be around for so long, right? These others are all bonuses until the end of the game. So let's take the trade efficiency. Supply status is now scarce. So that's potentially spicy. But let's see how that plays out. We're going to set sail. Okay. And we are off. An Ottoman prince, born here in exile after his grandfather's defeat in a failed attempt for the Ottoman throne, has heard of our plans to quit the city of the world's desire and sail to Vinland. The man, Orhan, I'm not sure how this is supposed to be pronounced. In French, that is a soft C, so Celebi? I don't know if that's actually the case with Turkish, but who knows. Was never returned to the Ottoman Empire on the implied threat of execution for his grandfather's crimes. Needless to say, he fears such a punishment at the hands of his cousin Mehmed, and has requested that a ship be allocated to him and his regiments of retainers. In return, he promises to train the Roman army, such as it is, in the advanced tactics of the feared Janissary Corps, and also offers his service as a general in our employ. In addition, a former Ottoman officer named Castrioti, called Skanderbeg, has rebelled from Turkish service and has traveled to the city in search of support. He has also learned of our impending flight and requests that some of his people be allowed on board. Unfortunately, there's only enough space left on our transports for one group. Either Skanderbeg or Orhan Celebi must stay behind in the doomed city. Both men have promised not to share our plans to our enemies, come what may. So, this guy's 5550. Okay, and Orhan would take control of Constantinople and make a bid for the Turkish throne. That's not going to go well, I don't think. Alternatively, we could take this guy. He would be an advisor. And Skanderbeg will launch an offensive into Turkish lands to draw attention from us and stymie any pursuit. Either way, this is not a big long-term decision, in my opinion. This is a good general. I'm not going to lie. 555 is an amazing general. And I think we're going to do this. Okay. Cool. So next up, let's see what... Granadan pirates. Okay. Hearing of the approach of our fleet, a large Granadan force drew up near the gates of Heracles to force us to pay for safe passage. That's all the way down over here, so we're here now. Enticed by the promise of loot, a contingent from Morocco also sailed in support of the Granadan fleet. We could pay the toll, or we could force the strait with a sea battle. We might still take losses, but the Roman navy is still one of the best in the Mediterranean. So 80 ducats, or partially deplete our caches of Greek fire. I'll pay the ducats. Okay. The Portuguese are wishing to strike a deal. We've finally passed through the Pillars of Heracles and have reached the Atlantic Ocean. However, before we can sail through the unknown ocean, we've stopped at Lisbon to stock up on supplies. Most of our fleet is currently waiting off the coast of southern Portugal. It seems the Portuguese are under the impression that Theophilos is leading an expedition, and that word has not spread to Western Europe of us abandoning Constantinople. As a result, the Portuguese regent Infante Pedro has summoned Theophilos for a meeting and wants to make a deal with us. In exchange for information and maps of our discoveries, they offer to finance and supply our expedition. Our trusted advisors have proposed two different responses. One is to tell the truth to the Portuguese king and inform him that this is not an expedition, but us abandoning Constantinople in search of this Vinland with no intention of returning to Europe. The other is to lie to Infante Pedro. Let the Portuguese keep the idea that this is merely an expedition and that we intend to return in due time. In the Vinlandic records, we also found a map that leads to a place called Greenland, a land of nothing but ice. If we give them this map and tell them that this is our destination, pretending it is Vinland, then should the Portuguese follow after us, they'll find nothing. And they'll believe that there is nothing out there but a cold demise awaiting them, hopefully dissuading them and the rest of Europe from following us. Shall we be honest and tell them the true goal of this journey, or shall we fake our demise and fool the Portuguese into thinking our expedition fails? That's what we're going to do. The Portuguese are going to become one of our largest rivals in the New World. So if we can delay them, that will be a very big deal. Let's do it. Okay, so we're heading out over this direction. Do we actually have a fleet out here? I don't think so. Okay. It was a controversial... Wow, I can't speak apparently. It was a controversial thing in the Basilia Romaean that the Latin-sponsored Council of Florence had succeeded and convinced the Basilius to accept the primacy of the Pope in Rome. Not all, or most, or even many, were accepting of the logic of bowing to the Latins to avoid destruction by the Turks. It was not accepted in Russia or by the general populace, and was only very reluctantly accepted by the Romans themselves. As Lucas Notaras, commander of the fleet, said, "Better the Turkish turban than the Latin meter." Now, however, there is no more cause for pretense, as the Romans have passed beyond the power of those in the east and the west. Basilius Ioannis VIII has, the minute the Portuguese coastline was out of sight, publicly repudiated the Council of Florence. Good riddance to bad rubbish. So we're now Eastern Orthodox, and union of the churches will be revoked. Okay. Let's continue our journey. Where are we going to land? This will be interesting. For several weeks, we've had calm seas and good sailing. Sadly, all good things must end, and we've encountered a large storm that has swamped our fleet. Our only refuge was a relatively calm section in the eye of the storm, and we were able to use what little time we had available to us to regroup the fleet and prepare it to brave the rest of the storm. Thanks to the masterful seamanship of our captains, and we should be paused. Thanks to the masterful seamanship of our captains, we were able to safely escape the rest of the storm. Taking stock of our situation afterwards, we discovered that in addition to the Emperor falling ill, several ships and their captains could not be accounted for. Notably, Admiral Lucas Notaras is missing, alongside the ship he was aboard. What's worse about this is that when the storm hit, the Admiral was on, and we can choose either the Royal ship or a large supply ship. Okay, so as luck would have it, the royal family is not actually on the royal ship, as Konstantinos decided to brave the storm on our flagship, Agia Theotok. Theotoke? Greek. This Greek thing. The ship still holds most of the royal advisors, including Georgios Sfrantzis, counselors, and other royal staff. Loss of those will impact our ability to govern when, or if, we reach our destination. So Konstantinos would lose an admin and a diplomatic skill, and our artist would die. That's okay. Alternatively, we would lose a settler ship and the corresponding base tax and manpower is worth. No, I will take the losing one skill in those two categories over losing a base tax and manpower. Yeah, definitely. This is a short term, this is a long term. We take the short term hit. After surviving the Great Storm, a number of crew throughout the fleet became stricken with severe phthisis, tuberculosis. Despite the best efforts of our great physicians, Emperor Johannes VIII also fell victim to the disease. While some say it is just an unfortunate tragedy, others say this is divine punishment for fleeing Constantinopolis in its darkest hour. Regardless, Ioannes VIII's brother Konstantinos has been crowned emperor, and will finish what his brother started. Honestly, that's good. We now take no penalty whatsoever from the last choice. Okay, beautiful. So we do lose a stability, but that is understood. Proceeding forward. Oh, okay, hang on. There's stuff going on. There is stuff occurring. Frustrated by having to pay full commercion? Yeah, something like that. A 10% customs tax in Constantinople. Many Byzantine merchants have taken the rather shrewd tactic of employing the help of Latin merchants, who are exempt from the tax in order to evade it, severely harming our finances. Many Byzantine traders regularly complain about the unfair treatment and lack of protectionism. So we can crack down on that and gain 72 ducats. We are net negative right now. Noted. Minus 5% trade efficiency, or lose 72 ducats and have a temporary downside for 30 years. But then there's also that overall downside, that modifier there. I think we crack down on it. Yep, that's what we do. Okay, so that's fine. Despite everything, the toil, the hardship, the storms, the battles with the Moors, the desperate flight from the city, we've done it. We've ventured beyond the pillars of Heracles and lived to tell the tale. The western strands of our ancient Varangian bodyguards are verdant and green, and so we have given this land the name Elysium, after the ancient paradise afterlife. But heavy lies the head that wears the crown. Every piece of technology, every spear, sword, shield, every cuirass, helm, and hauberk, every bow and every arquebus, every cannon, every book, scroll, and treatise, every roll of silk or linen, every flag that flies proudly and proclaims to the world that the empire of the Romans is not yet dead. It is one less man or woman, or bushel of wheat, or barrel of supplies. It is one less life saved from Turkish dominion. Even now, the last defenders of our empire must be making some doomed last stand at the Hagia Sophia, swords flashing in fearless defiance of their fate for an hour longer until they're overcome. Mehmed must be smiling as he gives the order to loot the Queen of Cities and sell those men and women left behind to a life of slavery. Strange barbarian men on the beach have fled at our approach, but we have bigger concerns than finding a few men who evidently have no plans to attack us. We must acquire good fields to set up farms in, iron mines to forge weapons from, quarries to mine stone from, and land to expand our dominion over. We must build here, in Elysium, something greater than we could have built in prostration to the Sultan. Send out the scouts. We must find what's here. Indeed. And with that, it is time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, it looks like we landed in Maryland. Next episode, we are going to begin the New World. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGard, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.